Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. It's Miles here, and today I'm going to be talking about my first impressions of Prot Paladin. Now, I have been a massive fan of Prot Paladin for quite a while now, honestly. I really started picking up Prot Paladin in Sanctum of Domination, which is, I guess, halfway through my sort of World of Warcraft career, and when I really started taking this game uber seriously. And I picked up Prot Paladin to tank with because it's super strong, and I've absolutely fell in love with it, and I really played it to absolute hell through the entirety of SoFo, and I did a bunch of keys in Season 3 and Season 4 as well with the Prot Paladin spec. Now, so I might be a little bit biased in some areas, but you're just going to have to trust me on this one. You're just going to have to trust in the process. But I've been on beta quite a lot recently, as you might have seen by my recent videos or streams. And I have tried out Prot Paladin on beta, and let me tell you right now, this spec is ridiculously overpowered currently on beta. It will get nerfed. I guarantee you right now, Prot Paladin is going to get nerfed. Most likely it's going to be Avenger's Shield that will get nerfed, the damage on Avenger's Shield. It's way too much right now. And there's a few other things that I think will get changed, maybe nerfed here and there. Who really knows? You know, who really knows at the end of the day? But for now, this is how I'm going to place it. So I'll put on some gameplay in the background of this video so you guys can see me playing as Prot Paladin. You can have I've got my details damage meter. I do apologize. The UI is awful, and this is mainly because WeakAuras isn't working, and so for me to track my abilities and keep them to a more central point on my screen, I have to do this. So I am so sorry. I am so sorry in advance. But let's get into it. Let's get into it. Overall, your survivability is good. So the build that I'm showing you on the screen right now is actually a full single target build. However, I've sort of made it work in AoE. It does have some good AoE like properties to it, like Divine Toll and all this kind of stuff. And generally speaking, the main prop protection Paladin tree is very good in AoE, and all the sort of keystones at the bottom are AoE based. However, the single target build works really well in both, and let me talk a little bit about it. So this build is all about keeping Wings uptime up. Now, Wings has about a 75% uptime currently, and is giving you 20% crit, 20% damage, while also giving you 2 holy power per judgment that you use. Now, you mix all of this with your moment of glory, which is, for the next 15 seconds, you generate an absorb shield for 20% of the damage that you deal, and Avenger's Shield damage is increased by 20% and the cooldown is reduced by 75, means that Avenger's Shield does huge damage. Now, by huge damage, I'm talking I've got crits with Avenger's Shield for over 100k damage with one Avenger's Shield. Like, this is huge. Overall, the damage that I'm currently dealing is more than the majority of DPS specs, which is why I'm saying it will get nerfed. Avenger's Shield is the part of the kit which I guarantee you, damage-wise, will 100%, without a shadow of a doubt, get nerfed. But so I'm going to be talking a lot about the single target and also the multi-target survivability, but again, more focusing on single target, as I will be doing raid testing tonight, which will very likely be on Paladin. I might swap to Demon Hunter because I did say I was going to do some Demon Hunter testing as well, but I will most likely be on Prot Paladin for now. Now, single target survivability, if you compare it to Warrior, which is also very overpowered and will get nerfed, is nothing. It is almost as good as sort of a Blood DK level of survivability. You know, you're almost getting there, which is really good. You know, Blood DKs are incredibly good in terms of their survivability, so being closer to there is really good state. I've gone for a full haste mastery build. Now, this entire build is going to be haste based. You want as much haste as possible. Doesn't matter about what other stats you have, haste is the most important, hands down. Now, the reason why I went to a lot of mastery as well is because most of your talents aren't helping you too much with magic damage. You know, you've got a lot of things that are going to increase your block, and a lot of things that might increase your armor, like Shield of Righteousness, or Shield of the Righteousness, or whatever the fuck. But you have Holy Shield, which means your block goes up by 20% and you're able to now block spells and also deal a bit of damage back to the attacker on a successful block. Now, being able to block spells means that I want to go as much block as possible so I can deal with magic damage well, because I already have a lot of good ways of dealing with physical damage with the amount of armor that you currently have. And on top of this, Consecration being able to reduce the amount of damage that I'm taking is also a huge plus. So generally speaking, I would say that's probably the best build. However, you might want to also branch out into some of the other stats, both for damage and also for some decent survivability. Overall, though, haste is the most important because haste is the only way you're keeping up Shield of the Righteousness ever. Shield of Righteousness is really hard to keep up because Avenger's Shield isn't giving you any more holy power. So you'll have to find that going Sanctified Wrath and really high haste build me is the only way to keep up Shield of the Righteousness at a really good uptime while also being able to use some Word of Glories in there as well. Now, you can go into Seraphim, which will probably deal more damage to you if you Seraphim and then Word of Glory. Not Word of Glory, sorry, a Moment of Glory, to start spamming those shields, you will very likely deal more damage. However, I do want to keep my build slightly realistic and go for a decent amount of survivability on the side as well, because I do think that's really important to keeping a balanced and, again, more realistic build. Now, your entire build is just getting off as many Judgments and Hammer of Wrath as possible to keep your wings up for as long as possible, while also trying to do as many Shield of Righteousness as possible, so you can spend as much Holy Power as possible, so Righteous Protector can reduce the cooldown on your wings as often as it possibly can. Now, like I said, about 75% uptime in single target on wings, which is really, really good. I reckon when the tiers dropped and when we have higher item level, so higher haste numbers, you will be able to keep that at about 100% uptime. Most likely that'll be in the second tier. I reckon you'll be keeping about 100% uptime. First tier, I don't reckon that's going to be the case. However, I do reckon you'll find that once you are reaching 100%, you'll actually start to stagnate as a class. So I think for the first couple tiers, Paladin could end up being really, really good for that reason. Obviously, the damage, I reckon, will still stay high. I think it will get nerfed, but the damage will still stay very, very high. And this is just down to the way that the class is balanced and how much wings is really going to give you as a spec. And all these different things. Overall, I think it's going to be very high damage. With really decent survivability, as prior mentioned, with high block and other bits of high DR here and there scattered everywhere. I think overall is going to make Paladin one of the better tanks. Now, I personally, after testing, don't think Paladin's going to be the best tank, mainly because survivability isn't at an all-time high, and obviously they're going to nerf the damage, so it's not going to be so overpowered that you basically will need one because it'll be another DPS spec. And again, damage as a tank isn't the most important thing in the world. Survivability is really important on the side, and the other tanks still deal decent damage each. But yeah, we will see obviously how much it gets nerfed and how much changes they still make. They are still making changes daily. But the playstyle wise, it's very fluid. It doesn't feel really, really janky. Again, the only janky part comes from Avenger's Shield not giving Holy Power. It's the only part that doesn't feel good about the spec, because Avenger's Shield at the moment deals huge damage. Huge damage. I'm talking, unfathomable amounts of damage, and gives you a shield for 100% of the damage that you deal, practically making you an unkillable machine. Granted, that talent is bugged and is currently not giving you 100% of the value, whether it's a visual bug so that isn't actually supposed to give you 100%, or whether it's a bug with the actual talent itself and it is supposed to give you 100%, but it's not. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm guessing it's not the latter. So, looking at it, like I said, fluid playstyle besides Avenger's Shield. I tried Sanctify out, and I can't lie, currently, in its current iteration, I do not see Sanctify ever being used. Sanctify being the choice node that I was talking about in my last video about Protection Paladin, that being the thing I was most excited for and the coolest ability in the game. It won't be used. Sole reason, 20% crit is way too big of a loss. Way too big of a loss to gain Sanctify, because obviously those crits are going to be healing you. Those crits are just everything, and those crits give you so much damage. Like, they would have to change the node completely. Personally, I think the best change that they can make is by putting Sanctify on a choice node with Guardian of Ancient Kings. I think would be the best choice, because that way you have a choice between how defensive you can play. What type of defensive you're going to need, whether you prefer Sanctify on the smaller cooldown or Guardian of Ancient Kings for that bigger bit of DR. Obviously on the longer cooldown, I think would be a really, really good choice node to play. Really, really, really good choice node to play. However, we'll see if Blizzard end up making that change. But yeah, overall, first impressions are really good. Obviously, Definitely overpowered with how much damage it's doing currently, but the survivability still feels really, really nice. I'm really excited to play this when it goes live. I think Prop Paladin's going to be looking good. Definitely not one of the worst specs. But I'll talk about more about the other specs another time and what I think is going to be the best. And I think closer to the date, maybe in about a month and a half, I'll make a tier list where I talk about every single tank and which tanks I think are going to be sort of the best ones to play in general. And I might even update the enjoyability tier list once I'm done with playing out all these specs. But anyway, as soon as this video goes live, I will be raid testing. So you might go check out the stream if you haven't already. That's twitch.tv/Meewah_. You can come check me out on Twitch. Go check in for the raid testing. I will be playing Prop Paladin there with maybe a bit of Vengeance Demon Hunter involved as well. I really appreciate the support on these videos, guys. It's going really well, even as with the streams as well, are also going fantastic. So make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of the video, and I'll see you all next time.